Good, very early Tuesday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air because we are tracking multiple severe thunderstorm warnings here in play. You see a few there in the Florida Big Bend region, and then one really extending into towards southern Georgia there as well. So some wind damage potential is there as we're tracking things. We need to make sure you're away from those windows and you're trying to sleep, things like that. I've been posting the warnings here, the first few, but now one getting right toward the Tallahassee metro. We thought we better jump in. It's almost 80 degrees, believe it or not, here at 4 in the morning toward Tallahassee. So some extra energy out here compared to what you would generally see with the storminess here at this time of night. So need to be aware of that. These aren't the most overwhelming severe warnings. These aren't as bad looking in terms of the wind signals as what we saw yesterday afternoon towards south central Georgia. So that's why I was kind of waiting to come on here, but now seeing enough coming toward the Tallahassee radar, the Tallahassee airport, Florida State University, FAMU, Tallahassee State College there as well. I thought we better go ahead and jump on in here, even though it is very, very early, but we wanted to make sure we're on top of this. So as we go ahead and look here, you see winds of 45 or so miles an hour, showing up a velocity at a very low height here. Very well could end up having winds, closer to 60 right in toward the metro here over the next little bit. I know there's not too much lightning, but there's a little bit of lightning according to, one of our signals here as I kind of pull it up. I know our other signals on the lightning are not necessarily showing that electrical energy, but we do have some showing that here, so we're just going to kind of go with that for now. But there probably isn't too much lightning with this compared to what we saw earlier on back on that Monday. So this pattern here is a little less favorable for that. Now we have an advisory further up into South Georgia as well, up toward the Camilla area there. Gusts to 40 possible. I know a lot of these have been right on the edge between whether they need an advisory or a warning, but let's just go ahead and see. All the alerts here will go from north to south, assuming we don't have something else pop up here next few minutes. But portions of gas indicator and gradient South Georgia there in North Florida until about 4:45 a.m. At 3:36, severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from 12 miles northwest of Wiggum to 6 miles east of Chattahoochee, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. And then we have the warnings that are exclusively in toward Florida here. So let me go ahead and say the one further west out toward Liberty and some of those other zones here. The worst of the accident starting to move closer to Tallahassee, but including Wakulla, areas of that zone, as well as Gadsden, Liberty, and Leon until 4:15 a.m. We have the area here that includes Tallahassee proper until 5:15 a.m. As we're looking at things over there, we have Wakulla, eastern Gadsden, southeastern Liberty, Leon, and northeastern Franklin counties. That's until 5:15 a.m. unless it gets canceled early. At 3:48, severe thunderstorms are located along the line extending from 6 miles northwest of Havana to near Caravel, moving east at 30 miles an hour. Tallahassee, Woodville, Caravel, Tallahassee State College, Florida State University, Quincy, Havana, St. Mark's, Midway, as well as Crawfordville, Florida A&M there, as well as Doak Campbell Stadium, Wakulla, South Tropi, Lake Bradford, Wakulla Springs, Florence, St. George Island State Park, South City, and Medard under that. There's some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible, some damage to roof side and trees a possibility, and then the southernmost box here, including portions of Gulf, Liberty, and Franklin until 4:45 a.m. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, including areas there right along the coast like Apalachicola underneath that. So your St. George Island in there and the like. So okay, we just got another severe thunderstorm warning, so let's make it 5. I mean, we thought we'd have a line coming in, in the modeling we were showing yesterday afternoon, but we kind of thought they're going to drop one of these so down to 4 here as we're looking ahead. But, we thought we'd have a line coming through around midnight, kind of be a remnant of maybe some severe weather to the west and then kind of fall off and then move in our area. Instead, we actually had things strengthen as they got into the area. We didn't have any warnings for a while, and then we started getting warnings about an hour ago or so, and we had, technically there for a moment, 5 warnings on the board. We technically still have the one further west. It's gonna go to 14, but that's not where the concern lies anymore. But here's our new warning now up toward the Camilla Moultrie area until 5 a.m. You just don't see this many severe thunderstorm warnings this time of year, this time of night, very often at all. It's, almost never happens like this. But Mitchell, northeastern Baker, northeastern Thomas, Colquitt, and southern Worth counties there, in southwest to south central Georgia until 5 a.m. At 4:04 a.m., a severe thunderstorm is located near Pelham, moving east at 25 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Newton, Moultrie, Pelham, Camilla, Norman Park, as well as Baconton, Doran, Riverside, Sly, Funston, Sale City, Bridgeboro, Minton, Flint, Scooterville, Anderson City, Tempe, Parkerville, Cotton, and South Moultrie. So that's yet another new severe thunderstorm warning, popping up here just in the last couple minutes. Of course, we're always on top of things for our 62 counties. We're not on for every severe thunderstorm warning, especially this time of year as we're looking at things. But in this situation, it's warranted to be on the air right now because we have just so many areas. We're always on for any tornado warning storm now. I'm moving across our region, and that's on all the different platforms, of course. But we're posting about the first few warnings on Facebook and Twitter. I was kind of hoping things would weaken off here, but with those 80-degree temperatures, that really hadn't happened. I mean, we had some signatures that were a little bit stronger that were mainly in the more rural areas. That's why I didn't jump on in here, but not exactly the most ideal thing to break in at 4 a.m. there, when it's not a tornado situation. But we just had so many warnings. We thought we needed to come on here. We just have so many areas of potential wind damage, in theory, as we're looking at things right now. So let me go ahead and go back on over here toward the other map. Again, you see around Camilla there, we have that wind potential moving on in. Pelham there in Mitchell County this morning. You need to make sure you're inside, away from windows. I know most of you are already inside, but a lot of you might not be away from windows. If you have that tree that's kind of leaning around your house, and that's near your bed, get away, from that. Get out of your bed here. I don't want to have to do that. I know you might be watching on your phone right now, but it's about making sure you're as safe as possible as these winds come on through. We could have some 60-mile-an-hour gusts. I think they'd be more isolated with the stronger winds than what we saw yesterday afternoon in terms of the ones that really caused damage. Yesterday afternoon's event was more substantial in my assessment, but here in the middle of the night, it could be catching folks off guard. And in some of these areas, even, as we're looking there, we could even have some of the vulnerabilities being exploited a little bit at this point, by the winds this morning that we had, damage from yesterday. So I just got to keep that in mind as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, as we give you guys the very latest, obviously. So just got to be mindful of that here as we're looking at the situation. I know just, some overlap, not, all of that. I mean, a lot more in Florida here than what we had yesterday, but, on that Monday afternoon, a little over 12 hours to go in general, but just got to be careful here, around Tallahassee, FSU. Unfortunately, that baseball team couldn't quite get that job done and get that spot in Omaha there, but, better luck next year as the guys, that remain, try to push ahead for 2026, and then the others go, to the pros and the like, but I just want everybody to stay safe there, and the baseball players, and I believe they were just getting back into town yesterday night, so just, not exactly an ideal wake-up call here, probably trying to get, acclimated here to Eastern time after being on Pacific time there for multiple days. Probably don't want to have to wake up to this right now here as you're looking toward Tallahassee, hearing that wind pick on up, that rain pick up here, maybe some electrical energy. I know our other lighting centers are not so enlightening, so, but our one from satellite is. I kind of wonder. Let me check FSU weather stem because I wonder if these are actually something that's happening because, or it could either be a data outage or it could actually be a situation where it's just kind of thinking there should be lightning based on this algorithm that's not actually happening. So let me check weather stem as to tell me. Let me see here. FSU weather stem. Okay, we're seeing some then. I guess there's just a data outage in on the other two sources for lightning because it's not coming across on my phone's source there, which kind of takes it from the other, but not coming across on my other radar system. And this is the only one that's coming up out of all of them. And this would be a setup where you may not have as much lightning, but you still have some. We are seeing some lightning there toward the FSU weather stem side. I mean, we just had cloud to cloud there at 4:08 a.m., about 5.5 miles away. A lot of these are cloud to cloud, but there are some ground strikes in there, so just gotta be really careful. Lightning within about 5.5 miles of the university. I know this is so important for FSU baseball. A little over a week ago, there's hopes set on the national championship. Finally, and it just didn't happen there as they went out to Corvallis, Oregon, and they tried really hard, but couldn't quite get it done there. Such a long trip. As we go ahead and look here at the situation on the Doppler right now, as we look toward Franklin County, you can see here we're talking about areas of Gulf, Liberty, and Franklin on the Gulf end in our area, but some of Apalachicola right now getting hit pretty hard. The Krills area there getting hit with quite a bit of rain. Some wind energy. I'll take the lighting off just for the moment so we can see the wind. We're seeing 40 to 50 in here. Possibility that's the same for Tallahassee, though. Gust 60 cannot be ruled out. Similar story up north here. As we look, we'll see if, let's check this here. Thomasville may get a warning. They may get an advisory. We see Camilla Moultrie there. We're watching that area very carefully as well. So, these are marginally severe. A little more marginal than what we probably had yesterday afternoon as we were looking at things, as we were tracking things. I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest here on exactly what's going on. I'm just going to get some traffic cameras up into the Tallahassee area. I know it is the middle of the night, but you gotta always stay aware of these rapidly changing weather conditions. Let's take you to Tennessee Street and White Drive here. We'll pull that up momentarily. See a little bit of that wind there coming into play. I'm just trying to monitor some of these visuals here. I know it is at night, so it makes it a little bit harder to see things, but some flashes there, whether it's lighting or power flashes, I kind of wonder. Let's go ahead and keep looking for more camera views. We continue to monitor the situation. Coming right into town there. Let's get closer to the university there. Let's get closer to FSU. New warning for Thomas, by the way, till 5:30. I don't know a lot of folks at FSU right now, but the wind is blowing. Let's take you there live. Tennessee Street and Woodward Avenue right there by the FSU EOAS building, a fairly new EOAS building there. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things, you see that wind kind of whipping there. Tennessee Street and Woodward Avenue is also, not too far away from the FSU Student Union. As we go ahead and look at things here, see some flashes. Whether that almost looks more like power flashes to me. I can't say that for sure, but it could be lightning. But they look almost more like power flashes. I know that's the night, so that's a little harder to tell. But could be seeing some folks lose power here around Tallahassee this morning. Just got to be very cognizant of that. Obviously, these very inclement conditions as we're tracking things here. See a few folks out and about. Looks like a little piece of debris maybe even in there. But really small. You had to look for, really carefully. But Again, just trying to give you an idea of what's going on there right now toward Tallahassee, toward FSU, with the severe thunderstorm warning in effect there. Just trying to give you the very latest on what is happening. Just make sure you're inside, obviously. Not too many people out, but there are a few, and just be away from windows. And that's the way those flashes are going. I gotta wonder those are power flashes from the wind. It could just be lightning flashes. Doesn't mean it's that bad. It just means that some folks are losing power. Doesn't mean there's a tornado or anything. That's not how that works actually. But as we're continuing to track things here this morning, let's go ahead and keep looking at the situation here. I'm gonna check some more views the best we can. You know, as the situation does transpire. We'll go just a little bit further east, Macomb Strait in Tennessee, and it looks like that's out now. Try Copeland in Tennessee. Okay, we'll pull that one up then. Okay, so definitely see that wind playing a role here in things. Shaking things around toward Tallahassee, toward FSU. Just being savvy away from windows if you can be. No, it's 4:17 in the morning, but that's what we recommend. Again, it's a severe thunderstorm warning for the metro here at Tallahassee. Again, some dangerous weather moving on through there. Let's keep looking at some different views of things here. I don't know velocity. It looks to me that, you know, some of the strongest winds haven't even got there yet toward the campus area. The campus is up here. You see the stadium. And sometimes it gets obscured a little bit, but right there at the radar. Just continuing to give you the latest. We had a new warning issued for Thomasville recently. That goes into 5:30. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible coming from the west, moving east at 30 miles an hour. Heading in toward the Thomasville area. Just be inside, be away from windows there. And Tallahassee proper. You have all these traffic cameras, so let's keep trying to give you the visuals again. 60-mile-an-hour gusts all through Tallahassee. You know, not out of the question. Most folks aren't, you know, going to get the 60-mile-an-hour gust. Don't get me wrong. Most folks will not get 60-mile-an-hour gust out of this. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. But, you know, a lot of folks will get these gusty conditions that could knock some trees down or, you know, some tree limbs down. More so the limbs. But just get a gust of 44 at FSU there on top, I assume, of the Love Building there at the Weather Service office. So a gust of 44 in just the last minute or so, it looks like. Yeah, that's why we're seeing, you know, maybe power flashes on some of those views and the like then. Just trying to get some more views of the situation. A lot of the cameras are not coming up here this morning. Gotta wonder if some of this wind here too, you know, it's just, you know, even out ahead of it, it's pretty nasty as you saw in that report, but right on the radar, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on, but Duval Street and Pensacola Street, look at that wind there. The camera's shaking though. Downpours are blowing there. I mean, it is June the 10th, and we have a squall line coming through Tallahassee here at 4:20, you know, a.m. or so in the morning as we're looking at things. Wow, that's pretty nasty. Not, again, this wind is not going to knock down trees everywhere, but there could be, limbs being knocked down in quite a few backyards. Just trying to give you the latest here. Again, be inside, be away from windows. So many different cameras we can choose from here. There's just so much going on. Let's go to Adams Street and FAMU Way. You can see that wind blowing that rain. Right after I took that camera away, it had a flash there, by the way. I don't know if it was, probably looked more like lightning, but it's hard to say for sure. Oh, let's try this camera view. Franklin Boulevard and Lafayette Street there. Well, I guess Lafayette for Tallahassee, but Lafayette's what we call Lafayette County. But I digress. Here we go. It's 4:22 in the morning. It's a broader view, so if we had some flashes in the sky, you might, if it's in the right direction and which way is it pointed, it's pointed east, so I might not see them, but you might as it kind of goes off there with the storminess, but again, looking at the situation here, I already had a tropical storm force gust reported out on the FSU campus there, 44 miles an hour. Tropical storm force threshold is 39 miles an hour. So look at that wind there. Telling the story. See, it looks like flag there, top right, moving around. If you look real close. There's some flashes. That might have just been lightning there, but gust to 40. Another tropical storm force gust there. Tallahassee Airport, 4:16 a.m. This can cause sporadic power outages, obviously, those type of numbers. Not as much in the widespread realm, when you're talking about just a tropical storm force, but still possible. All those trees in Tallahassee, and I don't have, maybe quite as many as we used to have because of all the storms they've had the last several years, whether tropical or not. But there's tornadoes last year, but there's still a lot of trees that can cause power problems. Last May, this is nothing like last May here with the tornadoes coming through, don't get me wrong. This is a marginal severe situation, but still some folks are going to be, and I'm sure are losing power. Nothing like last May. Don't get me wrong, not like that, fateful Friday morning there. Still can be problematic, still can be dangerous, though, but, what if you left people out and about, too, in the situation? But you got to kind of watch out, mobile homes or something. People are not expecting this at 4 in the morning, and then it's got off. There's no trees that are falling on, like, people's, beds there and something like that. That could be deadly. It has happened before like that, so far, not seeing too many power outages there toward Tallahassee, but that's one reason I didn't break in earlier on, because I wasn't seeing too many out to the west as we were looking at the situation here. But this came right toward the metro. We had to kind of come on the air with this, but we do have 1,000 or so out in Gadsden County now. Sometimes it takes a little while for these to report on into the system. But so far, not really seeing any in Leon County, but I suspect, it's going to take a few minutes and then we'll have them pile up. So, not overwhelming, but could have a few thousand is what I'd guess. Never know, though. It's really hard to guess the amount of power outages, unless it's like a hurricane, coming on through, something like that. Then you can kind of know it's going to be bad, but it's in a hurricane, that's for sure. Weak tropical storm force gust. You can see around Ocklackney here, 40 or so miles an hour on the velocity. See, it looks like we're East Tallahassee seeing some wind signatures. So let's see if we can pull up a camera further east, possibly. Let's go to Blairstone Road and Park Avenue. Trying to give you a visual there. See what's going on. Let's go ahead and keep looking. As you see flashes, gotta wonder. I mean, we hope it's lightning. Could be some folks losing power though. It's kind of hard to tell when it's at night like this. Probably a mixture of both, to be quite honest, because there are some strikes. You know, a little over a mile away from FSU here in the last 10 minutes. Okay, so we're going to keep watching the situation here. Let me see what else I can get view-wise, information-wise. Okay, have Elisa watching there on YouTube, AJ. Yeah, lightning happening there. And the wind gusts very strong. Blowing over heavy patio furniture all over the property. Rain sideways too. So yeah, this wind is definitely coming across here and causing some issues this morning toward Leon County. Thanks for reporting there. As you see on this little velocity area popping up right near I-10, it's a little bit stronger. Right there before it intersects with US 90. Let me see if I can get a camera in that spot up. See that shaking around there, I-10 there, west of Mahan Drive. Not fun looking weather out there this morning to be driving in. Speaking of I-10 down in, some of these areas, you're having issues, and went out toward the west in Gadsden County, 2 miles south of Rosedale, and trade down an I-10 near mile markers 162, 163. FHP is on scene. So it's advisable not to be out here and about in these type of conditions if you can help it, because if a tree falls on your vehicle, granted, there's a chance it might fall in front or behind it, with not many people out, but if it falls on your vehicle, it could be a very tragic situation. As we go ahead and keep looking at things here right now. We have just multiple warnings on the board. It's, you know, what I'm showing you guys is not just, you know, a threat toward Tallahassee. It's a threat in other parts of the region as well. We have other cameras they might try to pull off, but I don't know if these storms are quite as nasty up there in Georgia. It's kind of hard to say, but Moultrie, you know, you're going to be getting some pretty strong winds coming in soon. Thomasville, there in Thomas County, you're going to be getting some pretty strong winds in there soon. You know, just got to be very mindful here of the situation. Checking some more information, but see out toward Carabel there. Got some pretty strong winds in that area. So let's see, we're at 4:31 a.m. and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 warnings on the board here. It is June 10th. This is not normal here around our area, and that is an odd pattern that we're dealing with. I mean, you know, you're not generally going to have a line like this coming through, you know, this well defined at this time of night. Tornado threat's pretty low, though. It's not, you know, completely zero, but it's almost zero. Almost zero. Again, looking at Thomasville there. Looking at Moultrie, be inside, be away from windows there. Colquitt County, you know, Thomas County there. Be inside, be away from windows. See Crawfordville there, McCulloch County. Got this wind moving on in. We go ahead and look toward Jefferson County now. We have a new warning in play. It is until 5:45 a.m. now, including Monticello. At 4:31 a.m., severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from 13 miles northeast of Tallahassee to 12 miles south of Crawfordville, moving east at 35 miles an hour. Monticello, as well as it looks like Lamont, Thomas City, Drifton, Lake Miccosukee there, Acela, Caps, Lowest, those areas under that warning until about 5:45 a.m. So just got to be mindful of that here, obviously. As we keep giving you guys the latest. Okay, Gadsden County, almost 2,000 folks are in the dark there now. 1,842, according to Power.us. So 1,842 customers in the dark there in Gadsden County, according to Power.us. Okay, 333 customers in the dark on City of Tallahassee Electric now. You see your Tallahassee Utilities. See this wind here on the velocity, that's where some of it's concentrated, even though you'd think there'd be a little bit more back here, and there may be. It could be the way that radar is obstructing things a little bit, but on the leading edges, we have a lot of this wind based on the reports here, like from the FSU campus, and just on the velocity of that pattern kind of shapes up, you know, matches up with that. So you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Like right when that goes across there, that's where you see the reports pop up. So that's kind of storyline there. Again, multiple warnings on the board. Again, Moultrie is about to get hit by wind potential with the downpours, with the storms. Thomasville, Monticello pretty soon. to keep giving you guys the latest. Okay, Monticello. And I'll be watching that area here. Looking for more information. I know the Moody Radar came back up for a little while. We're looking at things there. Looking at things there yesterday, but then it's back down again, it looks like. By the way, another storyline to mention, the ABC station in Abilene, Texas, they got hit by some very significant winds Sunday night, and they suffered significant damage to their weather center with, all the weather action going on. So it's a big deal on a national weather level. Haven't had a chance to bring that up yet, but thought we'd bring it into the conversation now. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, in toward the weather center. Some very significant winds there, Abilene, back on that Sunday night. Again, continuing to look here at our Doppler locally, wind velocity mode locally, trying to see what's going on. See some stronger pixels here, higher, numbers with the pixels. Headed further off toward the east and north, toward Monticello. Just got to be mindful of that. Okay, they're expiring the warning for gas indicator in Grady. So that jump off the screen. It's going to be off here, officially expired at 4:45, but went away a little bit early on the screen because that threat's kind of moving east. You see that Apalachicola Caribou area, some wind there. We were talking about, Lisa, they're talking about how blowing heavy patio furniture all over property there, north central Leon County, a little while ago. And not what you want to hear, obviously. And then another viewer talking about here in Thunder, east of Tallahassee. So not ideal weather conditions, obviously, especially at 4:39 in the morning. People trying to sleep, and it's not helping things. Thomasville starting to get into some of this now. So let's go ahead and see if we get some Georgia cameras up. Let me see. Moultrie is still a few minutes away, maybe. Not too, well, this is probably behind by a few minutes, so maybe almost coming in on them now, but Thomasville more so. So let me go ahead and try to get that view up. Georgia 511. On that traffic source. Just one-man band, so it takes me just a moment here. Just trying to find a camera in that area. So the situation. Against I put in the latest information. Okay, let's try this camera. GDOT camera in the Thomasville area. See some of that wind blowing around a little bit there, and the rain coming down. And this is not Florida, so I'm going to take that tag off. But this is Georgia, just into Georgia, but it is into Georgia. You got the camera there. Georgia Department of Transportation, Georgia 5-1. You know, we just started getting, you know, these Georgia cameras here available the last few months, so got to create another super there for that, I guess. Start having in our system. But see that rain coming on down? There's flashes there. That looks more like lightning, but could have been power flash. I guess as the camera kind of loses a signal here and there, but let's look up to Moultrie's way then. We'll try to see if we can get a camera up that way. Looks like it might still be, you know, kind of on the edge of coming into Moultrie there. Looking kind of calm, but it's not going to be like that here momentarily. We're looking there in Colquitt County. Again, still trying to give you the latest. Some of this is getting over the water a little bit here. You see as I've scrubbed it back and forward. The models have had a lot of trouble. I'm curious to see what they're showing for the rest of our area with this. Because it is pretty warm still. Not as warm to the east, but let's see. This is what the instability looks like. I'll go back 4 hours, and doesn't look like it's really going east with it too much, but we'll see. Just kind of going back 4 hours to now. All the different warnings we have right now. Thought I might have a, you know, a few warnings, maybe a, you know, a little after midnight, something like that. We talked about it in our update and coverage here, updates and coverage yesterday afternoon. You know, stuff was kind of coming in, you know, maybe southwest Georgia and then kind of fall off, but that's not been the case. We ended up having strengthening as it's moved across our area here for a bit. Still holding together pretty good. Let's see, so this must be, yeah, the model is, I'm not even sure what to say about this model one right now. This is supposed to be 3 a.m. there. That's supposed to be 4 a.m. That's supposed to be 5 a.m. It's already east of Tallahassee really with the worst. And this is on west there. And then it says it all falling apart. Which is not what, that's not what's happening. Maybe it will eventually. Very well could eventually they get to, you know, maybe the word like Swanee County, something like that. But as it is completely falling apart here on us. But with the way the models have been handling things lately, I'm just, you know, I hope, you know, I hope it falls apart. But let's go to the very, that was a run before now. Let's just go to 5 a.m. on the very latest run. It's a shorter period. Even then, it's just a little behind it. Let's see what it's showing us. I don't know if maybe it will fall apart as it gets further east. That's definitely possible. It's just so quick here. It surprises me. They go hour by hour. Formal risk here after 8 a.m. today is not much of one. We've had these big, slight risk here in play lately. Today it's a marginal only for southeast Georgia counties for the most part, a little bit of Nassau in there, and Duval maybe as well if you look real close. But the point is, lower risk here today past 8 a.m. A general thunderstorm threat in there, but this is not the only area that's having overnight storms nationally. In Texas, they're getting some there in the Odessa region, south of Odessa proper. And they're dealing with some of these 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, penny-sized hail in the eastern box, the potential 60-mile-an-hour gust and quarter-sized hail in the western with confirmed 60. For anybody wondering about the national weather picture, we had tornado warnings up there in New York State, Pennsylvania yesterday, and the tropical system out in the Pacific there, with Barbara, we're watching as a hurricane. And we have another system out there as well, another tropical cyclone too. They just up there on that the tropical storm again, Barbara, but you get the idea. Get back local here. All right, on cue, the update for Tropical Storm Barbara just came out, by the way. The 2 a.m. Pacific, I guess it'd be full advisory, but we have 4 warnings here in play. It does look like it's falling off a little bit on here, but it could be because it's right over the radar site with some of this heavy rain, that's come through, and now, moderate rain. And that could be obscuring things some. Because the winds don't look like they really died down as I'm looking at some things here. See Moultrie, I'm still seeing winds of 40 to 50 coming on in. Thomasville might be slightly less, but still an issue, and you see 40 to 50 in here. Moving into Jefferson County. There are 345 customers without electricity in Tallahassee there. City of Tallahassee Utilities. Talquin overall across the region. On their outage map, they're tracking some outages. 1,231 customers in the door. Again, still trying to get the latest information. Still getting lightning within about 4 miles of FSU here in the last couple minutes. Ground strike there. FSU weather suggesting, the lightning threat is definitely continuing. Whenever thunder roars going doors, I know where people are, but some other lightning trackers were having trouble picking up on it, but it's happening, as Elisa was saying. I'm seeing an FSU weather stem is, having to look at it through the satellite-derived lightning, which is not something we generally have to just look at exclusively, but other lightning is not coming up in our system this morning for whatever reason. But as we continue to track things here, 4:50 a.m. Still watching the progression of things. Trying to keep you safe and informed. Just looking at more information. Trying to be here for you the best we can. On all the different platforms. Facebook, their Casey Cloud Reacts, Cloud Weather, Twitter /exit Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and then cloudweather.com. So Again, multiple warnings here in play. I know we've seen this here the last couple hours. We started to see this progress toward Tallahassee. We decided to go ahead and come on the air with this because, hoping it would kind of weaken on out before it got into toward Tallahassee. As we were seeing intermittent areas of, stronger winds popping up, but, maybe the severe wind not sustaining itself as much. But then saw the warning for Tallahassee. There's so many warnings. We thought we better get on here, even though it's not a tornadic situation. So many warnings. It's a weird time of day for it, a weird time of year for this to happen at this time of day. I mean, you get this maybe in April sometimes, but then those would have more of a tornado threat with them. This is not really something like that. So you see around Moultrie, some wind there. And I'm going to go ahead and get a loop together. Bear with me here. We had some marine warnings earlier, but we didn't really have any severe warnings for a while until it started getting closer toward Tallahassee. Kind of unusual in the overall, kind of pattern comparatively. Just keep looking at things, tracking things. We'll go ahead and put the loop on now. It is ready on the other source. Just moving the map around a little bit. We didn't have any yellow boxes there for a while, and there were some around midnight, I think, but we didn't really have any for a while. Then we started seeing them pop up toward our area, all over the place, really. Just interesting to watch that progressing. Again, we're with you 4:54 a.m. Tuesday morning, June 10th, 2025. And the current view on that. Looking at instability and supercell composite and the like. A little bit of that right near the coast there. Not a lot. I think this is starting to weaken off some. Moody radar would help us if it was working, be able to tell better because we're kind of obscured on the Tallahassee side. Hopefully it's going to start following more of the model guidance and that it's going to weaken off quite a bit. But there's still wind in this. I know Elisa there, AJ Watson, talking about, lightning still in the area. Closest strike about 1.2 miles from their house. So, yeah, definitely electrical energy still persisting. We continue to give you the latest. I've got it's not something you're thinking about at this time of night, probably, but you gotta still watch out for that rip current risk toward coastal areas as well. Make sure I mention that as so many folks try to stay cool when it's so hot. We've had some, whether they're all, related to rip currents or not, we've had, some different tragedies here at the beaches, media reports. I know Fernandina Beach, and then I know Cape Sandblast there as well. I think that Cape Sandblast one was attributed to a current risk, and maybe Fernandina Beach wasn't, but a couple people losing their lives in the, water there. or, you know, in the beach area at least. Not good. Not good. Gotta be really careful. But sometimes, you know, it's not something folks are used to, maybe. You come from a different part of the country. Don't realize the danger there is you just gotta swim near the lifeguard and if caught in a current, relax and float. Don't swim against the current. If unable, swim in a direction following the shoreline, and if unable to escape, face the shore and call or wait for help. But if you're not a strong swimmer, do not get out in the water when there's that current risk around. I know Franklin County, there's definitely that concern today. That's the one area where we have a statement in play. But, you know, other areas of the region, you always got to watch out for lightning, but also watch out for, even if there's not enough current risk, maybe it's best not to be in the water if you're not a strong swimmer, especially. So if you're not a swimmer, you know, accustomed to even, you know, the waters there. You know, the Gulf, the Atlantic, if you're maybe just, you know, from the Midwest or something, that's, you know, a lot of folks, you know, not used to the ocean just in general and don't realize the power of it. You know, the ocean, the Gulf there. So important to be careful. See what else we might have. See if I can get some camera perspectives up around Moultrie. Okay, another one that was calm earlier on. They've had some nasty weather coming on through. You see some of the lights shaking around still a little bit in North Colquitt County. See some flashes there. Just always got to watch out. You know, we hate all these different kind of weather-related tragedies. You know, rip currents are so, you know, so deadly. So many cases. You don't think of it as weather-related, but it's a very high, you know, high number in terms of, you know, fatalities we have with those really every year. You know, every summer especially. My thoughts and prayers go to everybody impacted by any weather-related tragedy. As we keep looking at things here, marine warning in play until 7:15 a.m. Looking at things, you know, off of Carabel. Some of us will try to get into Ward Taylor and Dixie. We'll see if it holds together. I kind of doubt it, but those areas are so vulnerable because of the hurricanes that have come through the last couple of years. Adalia, Debbie, and Helene, you know, the worst one by far. Again, been with you for about an hour. We're nearing the top of the hour and 5 a.m. here on this Tuesday morning. Again, I kind of doubt, though the models haven't really been handling this great, you know, kind of doubt it's going to hold together, you know, as we get past, like, Live Oak Lake City. And anything too crazy. Could have some rain, you know, some lightning. But the wind threat should start to die down with this. It's not really doing it some form of velocity, though. I tell you what, these velocities are, you know, more impressive than what radar would suggest when you look at them. I mean, we're right near the radar, so the rain's kind of obscuring them. Well, is the Moody radar working again? It looks like it may be. Okay, maybe it is. It wasn't working a little while ago as red, but maybe we're getting a signal from that again. So that'll help some. Maybe it's intermittent where they can kind of use it at times. So let's try to start using that if we keep getting that signal. But, you know, I was going to say you wouldn't be able to tell as much with the rain over to one radar and other not working. But on here it looks a little bit weaker. I'm seeing more like 40. You know, as we're looking here with the progressing. On this radar it says more like 50. And when you have 50 in this pattern, you probably kind of feel like you got to keep the warnings going. You know, maybe go, you know, with that over the advisory. But when it's down to like 40, maybe you don't. Because the warning criteria is for 58. And guess what? It just issued a new warning. So This one's for Berrien, Colquitt, Cook, Lanier, Tipton, Worth, portions of those zones until 6:15 a.m. We continue to give you the latest. Some of that wind enhancement up there. Check this radar. Didn't show it as much, but you kind of see it. Mainly just one direction. But new warning down at 6:15 a.m. for portions of Berrien, Cook, Colquitt, Lanier, Tipton, Worth. So that'll pop up here shortly. The 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential continuing. Some of these areas getting hit there yesterday by storms. Cook, Berrien, northern Lanier, Colquitt, southern Tiff, southeastern Worth. At 5 a.m., severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from 8 miles northeast of Derwent and near Coolidge, moving east at 40 miles an hour. So, gotta be mindful of that, obviously. Nashville, Moultrie, Adele, Lakeland, Tifton, Sparks, Enigma, Ray City, Norman Park, Lenox, Phillipsburg, Unionville, Sly, Cecil, Ellington. You kind of get the idea. More strong winds moving on in. You know, heck of an overnight, early morning event for this time of year. You do not get this very often, but it is warm out there, and that's helping this to be a little bit more of an issue. I'm going to broaden the view here. You see how it's 78 right now in Perry, 78 there. As you're looking right now at a ward of Adasta, it's down to 73 around Keystone, 72 where I'm at here, East Stark, so a little cooler at least. But it did not cool down very much at all further out toward the west, so, you know, playing a role in some of this while being together. And when you look ahead in the timeline, a manned rocket launch there from Cape Canaveral postponed to Wednesday morning from what I've seen here in media reports. It was supposed to be this morning, but got postponed to Wednesday morning. Hopefully the weather will be okay for it then. I don't think it was because of weather for this morning. I'm not really sure. I'll look here real quick. Double check. Oh, they're saying it was because of weather for this morning. Might have been some different criteria because right now at least it looks fairly okay in that area, but 8 a.m. tomorrow, if it doesn't go up then, maybe Thursday, 7:37 a.m. Again, continue to track things here in the Weather Center. All about protecting you, your friends, your family. Just checking some more information here. Still trying to give you the latest. WFTV there in Orlando reported it was because of the high winds. I know you have to have certain criteria being met. They're looking there, especially when you have a man missing like that. So, the rocket there being pushed back from Tuesday to Wednesday. Cape Canaveral, Brevard County. I'm still here. I know we've been on for over an hour with this at this very early hour. Trying to protect you, your friends, your family. Let's go ahead and go over to the velocity mode here. It's right there, Monticello, Wakena, Thomasville, and then from Moultrie over to Adel and I-75, and then even Nashville along US 129. Lakeland technically in this warning here in Lanier County as well. US 129, State Road 135. I know it's always got to be on top of things. I believe they had a pretty bad tornado there in 2012 in Lakeland there in Lanier County. I remember hearing about that one when I was, reading about that one on some posters when I was at FSU in the subsequent years. And that was on March 3rd, 2012. March 3rd, I believe it's 2019. Let me double check my dates here. Yep. And that was the day we had a terrible tornado in East Alabama. Beauregard area, give or take. And we had all of our severe weather around here. So March 3rd, 2012 and 2019. Both bad days in our weather history. Doesn't mean by any stretch that 26 will be like that when you do the 7-year difference, but that time of year is a lot more conducive for big severe weather events. Just what we're dealing with right now. It's not a big severe weather event. It's not a tornado event, from what I can tell here, but it still could be dangerous. Still could be dangerous for some folks, but it's an odd time of year. Odd time, in terms of seeing a line like this come through at this time of night. That's for sure. Okay, the Moody radar, the scan coming from that. Some winds about 45 miles an hour here, Thomasville, east side of town, Barwick there. East side of Moultrie going toward Adel, I-75. I see they're going with an advisory now for Brooks County versus a warning. Winds more 40 in that direction, it looks like, according to the Tallahassee office. I see they're expiring Leon and Franklin Wakulla. We still have the accent further off toward the east. This warning goes until 5:45 for Jefferson County. Thomas County warning, that goes until 5:30. And this warning further up in Georgia goes until about 6:15 a.m. We look at all different stats here meteorologically. Barometric pressure 1017 millibars. Raised historic right now where I'm at 72 degrees. I know 4 over to the east, and I think the setup, this will be where something, that's, out toward the west like this is going to be fading as it gets toward like Stark for sure. This is with the anticipation. Normally I'd say that with 100% confidence pretty much, but this has been a weird pattern and the models have struggled with this, so it's much more than likely going to happen and it's going to really fade. Maybe some light lingering rain, unless it really tries to redevelop, but the models have it just completely fading and not really able to get, enough of the parameters that come into play to redevelop things, so we'll see. Monticello still seeing some wind potential up to about 50 miles an hour there. Right now they're in Jefferson County. Seeing 40-mile-an-hour winds or so. With this warning according to velocities, this base velocity. Here on Barwick, 45. Boston, about 40. It's the brighter colors when we have the stronger winds here on this mode, if you're wondering what I'm looking for with the winds. Monticello, about 40 to 45. But there's a chance that gusts to 60 could pop out in here. That's why we have these warnings. That I think the chance is starting to fall off. Some of them is an advisory toward equipment versus a warning. For now, it doesn't mean that, they might not upgrade that later. They could. But kind of hopeful here that we'll be able to wrap coverage pretty soon based on what I'm seeing, but still see just enough there to keep it going a little bit longer. I'm not seeing as much lightning showing up into the eye view here toward the south, which, isn't always, a direct correlation between that and severe weather, but there is somewhat of an indirect correlation that this is probably weakening here. Not even in the more recently issued warning do we have a whole bunch of lightning up there in north south central Georgia. Yeah, that looks like more like 40. Could have some issues. That warning goes to 6:15. They may drop it early, but it goes all the way across until it gets to the Jacksonville County warning area. I'd be surprised, unless something really changes if Jackson were to issue, warning further east here. But of course, this is all Tallahassee in here until we get to Eccles. So, and this is Tallahassee, but this is Jacksonville. This is Jacksonville. This is Tallahassee. This is Tallahassee. So. Still seeing winds about 50 showing up here in Jefferson on this mode. Feel like this might be the last, gasp for this before it really starts to fade. But still kind of holding on there. A little bit of lightning in that specific area too. Watch around Lamont here next little bit. CA Dale will be getting into some strong to maybe a gust to severe next little bit around I-75. Equipment there, strong thunderstorm active. There's not a warning there as we look ahead. Gonna switch back to this radar for our base velocity, it looks like, or maybe it's not wanting to load it there for a moment, but Just trying to give you the latest to protect you, your friends, your family. Very early hour. I know those morning commutes will be getting going for people watching next little bit. I mean, some folks had to get out even earlier, but most folks be pretty soon here, when you have to get out, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. And definitely some slick roads in spot. Whether we really have warnings at that point or not, I kind of doubt it. We're looking like the 7 a.m. I'd be surprised if we had warnings at that point, but we could still have, advisories around and some slick roads. Maybe a little bit of lightning in there as well. Still looking here, still with you. Seeing some pixels closer to 50, moving toward Lamont. See, it's brighter little pixels in here. I'm talking about like this right here is about 35 mile-an-hour wind, but when you have some of these brighter areas, that still causes some concern. Switch over to a high-res view of this, but different data source for a moment. You see little pixels like 43, 40 in here. Where I'm putting my mouse, 38 was there. Again, the warnings are for 60. The thing is, though, it wouldn't necessarily cause 60, or it wouldn't necessarily take 60 to cause damage. 58 is what it really is with the criteria, but we have enough in here of the potential, for damage that we just have to be on the side of caution with these. There could be a quick gust of that, but most of these are probably a little less than that, but those could still cause some intermittent areas of damage. Don't think these storms have been as powerful in terms of the, the worst type of impacts, compared to what we saw yesterday afternoon. I mean, these have, impacted maybe more people in a way, but these are not, these are not as powerful as what we saw yesterday afternoon here in the overall, worst cases. Florida numbers, though, 1,103 customers in the dark in Gadsden County. According to PowerDit.us, 421 in Leon County, 266 in McCulloch County. PowerDit is kind of backed that up. We had several thousand out as we added things together. I mean, into South Central Georgia, I mean, it was multiple thousand. It was not, maybe you add to a couple to get, all, with all the numbers added together, maybe you add it all, get a couple thousand. We're talking, about yesterday afternoon in South Central Georgia, we had several thousand. Really noteworthy. But this is more of a standard lower end event, and that was, not quite as standard. I mean, that was honestly, we had 457 customers in the dark in Decatur County in Georgia. As I'm looking, 17 in Grady, according to PowerDit.us, but that was an event there where it was a little bit higher end at afternoon convection. It wasn't directly from the, just pop-up stuff, but my point being is the afternoon action there. The afternoon action, that was a higher end event, really, compared to what we generally get with that. This is an odd time of day, an odd event, but it's not a higher end event, in terms of squall lines, or overnight events even. It's probably a lower end, but for this time of year, you don't generally get this here, so that's why I need to stay on top of it. It is causing some damage in some spots, knocked in I know, as I was reporting from I-10's information earlier on, a tree did fall on I-10 near mile markers 162, 163 in Gadsden County around 3:36 in the morning. So this was already causing damage before we even jumped on here. We had different posts there on Twitter/X and Facebook, but as this was starting to get to Tallahassee, we were getting concerned. We had a couple tropical storm force gusts reported there toward FSU's campus. You know, when it's over 39, it's considered tropical storm force gust. And we had a 44-mile-an-hour gust there at the Love Building, the NWS office there on the campus, and then a gust of 40 at Tallahassee Airport. So the winds yesterday had higher peaks to them. These are impacting more spots. Those cause more, damage, it would seem, but these are still impactful as well. But you see this kind of moderate rain building in behind. This is a sign to me that these are really going to start to fade here. May have a little bit of gusty shower acts on the back side of the main line here per se, but it's not something, that will probably be severe too much longer. Maybe we get one or two more warnings. Mainly I'm thinking they might issue one for Madison and Taylor, but it'd be a close call. But after that, I'm just not really seeing it right now, in my opinion. Granted, these have been kind of marginal, but still impactful all morning. I suppose we've been tracking things the last couple hours, but seeing 43 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 50 down in here in southeast Thomas County. 46, seeing 53 moving toward Lamont. This is a few minutes old though. Let's go ahead and see if we can get another scan from the Moody. That's also a few minutes old. Let's go ahead and see here. Let's switch sources again. Let's see if I can get a more updated look at this. Okay, this is from the last minute or so. Still moving toward Lamont. Seeing pixels about 50 miles an hour. Monticello 40 or so. Adel about 30, maybe 40 back in here in eastern Colquitt County. Some of this moving toward I-75. Okay, so they're going with an advisory now for portions of Taylor, Lafayette, and Madison through 6:15. So that tells me not thinking the severe winds are as likely now. Maybe winds about 40 in here. So Madison, Taylor, and Lafayette. Let's see what they're saying in this statement. It'll pop up on here probably here in a moment. Okay, 40 mile an hour gust or so, moving east at 35 miles an hour, strong thunderstorms, and if outside, consider seeking shelter inside a building. But most folks, not out and about right now, but a few that are still got to be exercising caution. But these are, that tells me they're kind of going with these are stronger storms, but not really severe. Even though there are still warnings, could still have some issues. They're trending more on the lesser side, going from severe to what would be considered just sub-severe. I mean, still gotta be careful whenever thunder roars going toward. These are weakening, it seems like. So an advisory out here, an advisory here. We still got a warning here, and the warning's back behind. But once we get an uptick again, which we were getting some earlier on, stuff was strong and went severe. I kind of doubt we're gonna get many more warnings with this. This warning goes to 6:15. Berrien, Colquitt, Cook, Lanier, Tipped, Worth. So Berrien, Colquitt, Cook, Lanier, Tipped, and Worth. Portions of those zones impacted. So these are turning more into strong thunderstorms. Not all these are rural areas, but some of these are getting into more rural areas. Monticello, there's population there. I mean, Lamont, not too populated, but some, guess maybe a 50 possible there. Adel, of course, not, rural necessarily, but could have some gusts there to maybe 60 based on the warning, but It's looking a little less likely, but still be careful. You know, when you have a warning in place, you know, exercise caution. From the Moody radar, I'm seeing winds that are lower on that. In here, maybe close to 40 or 50. And here, maybe closer to 40. So, and none of these really look severe right now, but the closest might actually be in the advisory and just moving into western Brooks County. We'll watch around Valdosta there. And that's something that if we were to see an uptick, you know, higher populated area, they may try to issue a warning on that. But hopefully, based on the radar trend, these will kind of try to weaken down some more to scrub back. You see how it's more together? Now it's more split, and at this time of day, I doubt these would be able to really try to re-strengthen. You still see a few pixels in here closer to 50, moving toward equipment, and then maybe later on Valdosta. So exercise caution, be careful, obviously, but we're going to go and wrap coverage as we approach 5:30. Of course, we'll post, you know, new warnings if they come on out, you know, and if we need to be on, if an ad needed, we'll be on with the latest. Of course, we have our formal update that'll be coming late tonight here, you know, as we look ahead, you know, as we look at late Tuesday night. But we do have some strong storms. Some warnings still persist. If we have more warnings, then we don't need to pop back in. You know, we'll post those there, the local warnings, as we're watching our 62 counties, and we're posting warnings that, you know, not just the coverage, but the warning posting, you know, kind of sticks to these counties here as well, unless we have a big national story to track. But yeah, Facebook, Casey Cloud Reacts, Facebook Cloud Weather, Twitter /X at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, cloudweather.com, all the different sources here to keep you guys informed. And we're here. It's late. It's early. However you want to describe it. We've been with you for about an hour and a half or so, and posting updates before that, and we'll post more if it's necessary as we look ahead and toward the timeline. Please stay safe on the road. You know, slicking spots. Be careful. Could have some accidents become an issue as we're looking ahead. I just got to be mindful of that. I know today's risk is quite a bit lower for severe as we look, you know, past the 8 a.m. You see just the marginal 1 out of 5 further, you know, off toward southeast Georgia in general. So that's a positive thing as we're looking, but still doesn't preclude a few warnings popping as we're looking, as we're tracking things. Instability, still have some around Valdosta. So we'll watch. Starts to really slack off past there. You know, once you get past Homerville and Live Oak, it's, unless it really kind of follows it, which I don't know that it would. Granted, we will be past Sunrise as it gets further east, but I think these are going to decay quite a bit more as we look ahead. You know, okay, I know they're expiring a warning for Thomas County now. We have the 2 warnings persistent, one to 6:15 in South Central Georgia, and the one for Jefferson County until 5:45. So that's kind of the storyline there. That's kind of the storyline there. You see this strong wind, but maybe not severe wind coming in toward Greenville. There's a Madison County. Same thing with Quitman, you know, in Brooks County. Still have the warnings persistent for now, though, so be careful. You know, a couple spots of yellow boxes, but stuff becoming a little bit stronger, you know, in terms of the nomenclature versus severe. That means this weekend, and I know that's a weird way to say it, but you get the idea as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. So that's going to do it for now. We'll pop back in if needed. We're going to go ahead and wrap the stream on up here, cut the stream, as we've been with you for about an hour and a half or so. Stuff looks to be on the, you know, weaker side, weakening side here compared to what we were tracking earlier on. In toward the weather center. So that's going to do it. Stay tuned, everybody. Stay safe. We'll be back here as needed.